The Master's Mysteries, Tales of Magical Mastery, Episode 28. We were just talking about how Liu Fengyi and Old Dao were trapped in the lair of the wooden army. They had no choice but to fight, but there was no way out. No matter how brave they were, no matter how many wooden soldiers they knocked down, more and more wooden soldiers surged forward like a tide. This endless battle would either kill them or exhaust them to death. This can't go on. I know, but what else can we do? The grim situation in front of them furrowed their brows. Indeed, there's nothing else. Old Dao and Liu Fengyi were anxious, and Ahu by their side was even more frantic. Ahu watched the increasingly disadvantageous situation before him with great anxiety. Suddenly, a thought struck him, and he turned around and rushed towards the side of the mountain. Damn it, they're coming again. Liu Fengyi and Old Dao were unaware of this, but Liu Fengyi, who was engaged in a fierce battle, made a new discovery. Liu Fengyi saw that there seemed to be a narrow mountain path in front of this gorge that could be climbed along the mountain wall. Old Dao, keep up with me. This person was afraid of not having a direction. Once the target was confirmed, their determination would increase by 3 points. Liu Fengyi was no exception. Seeing a way out, he called out to Old Dao and charged forward with his sword. Soon, the wooden soldiers blocking their way suffered. In an instant, they were chopped into pieces. Old Dao, keep up with me. This wave of slashing created a small gap in the encirclement in front of them. Liu Fengyi seized the opportunity, crouched down, and motioned for Old Dao to follow as they rushed out. Old Dao, hurry up. Their fierce charge caught the wooden army off guard, so the two of them quickly reached the entrance of the mountain path. However, the wooden army behind them quickly reacted and pursued closely. They rushed up the narrow mountain path, which was only 2 feet wide, towards the mountaintop. But there was no escaping from this. As soon as they ran up the mountain path, they discovered countless wooden soldiers jumping down from the cliff. The wooden soldiers hanging on the steel cables above were no different. They also rushed down along the suspended steel wires. Not fast enough. Do you think I can fly? Old Dao, run. The mountain wall was narrow, limiting their movements. Coupled with Old Dao's average skills, despite their efforts, they didn't run very far. At this moment, wooden soldiers appeared on the mountain road ahead, blocking their way. Liu Fengyi knew the situation was urgent and stopped in his tracks. He bent his body, charged forward forcefully, and swung his sword, attempting to strike down the 2 wooden soldiers in front of him and continue running. But things weren't that simple. Just as they dealt with these 2 obstacles, more wooden soldiers caught up from behind. The curved blades gleaming with a cold light viciously attacked Old Dao. However, Old Dao wasn't to be outdone. Taking advantage of the wooden soldier rushing towards him without stabilizing its body, he kicked its thigh forcefully, causing it to fall to the ground. If an ordinary person was kicked like that, they would be in pain for quite a while. But these wooden creatures had no sense of pain. After falling to the ground, they immediately rolled over and got up, once again pouncing towards Old Dao. Old Dao didn't dare to engage in direct confrontation. After all, he was unarmed, and the curved blades on the wooden soldier's arms were not to be taken lightly. But he forgot that he was on a narrow mountain path with no room to retreat. Then he stepped on empty space and fell from the mountain wall. By this time, the 2 of them had been running for about 10 zhang in height along the mountain wall. If they fell, Old Dao would undoubtedly be shattered into pieces. Fortunately, the mountain wall had some slope, and Old Dao's reaction was still agile. After rolling on the mountain wall for a few times, he grabbed onto some protruding rocks, stabilizing his descent. Let's go back to Liu Fengyi. Just as he knocked down a few wooden soldiers, he heard Old Dao's screams of agony from behind, and quickly turned to look. Old Dao, are you all right? Don't worry, I'm fine. When Liu Fengyi looked down the mountain, he finally relaxed. It turned out that old Dao had climbed down to the next level of the mountain path and didn't seem to be seriously injured. Now, there's a problem. Just as old Dao said he was fine, he realized that he was surrounded by wooden soldiers. Then cold sweat trickled down his forehead. If this continued, he would really be in trouble. Are you stupid? It's better to escape alone than to die together. I won't leave you behind. In times of trouble, true friendship is revealed. Liao Fengyi wouldn't abandon old Dao. He flipped over and flew down, landing steadily in front of old Dao, protecting him from behind. However, this delay caused them to be surrounded by wooden soldiers from all sides. Coupled with the narrow mountain path that limited their movements, their situation was even more dangerous than before. At this moment, the laughter of the leader of the wooden army, the wooden demon, resounded from above. In his eyes, these two people were bound to die. Let's go back to Ahu, who climbed up the mountain wall. He knew that all of this was orchestrated by the wooden demon, and it was impossible for his small figure to harm him. Just as Ahu was getting anxious, he suddenly noticed a large black-haired wild boar leisurely eating acorns behind the mountain wall. Suddenly, the wild boar let out a roar as if it had been hurt. It turned out that Ahu had just bitten the boar's butt, causing it great pain. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Ahu leaped onto its head. This wild boar was full of brute strength. Now, due to the pain and fright, it went crazy and charged out, while Ahu firmly gripped its scalp, controlling the direction. The commotion caused by the wild boar was significant and alerted the wooden demon, who was coldly sneering while looking down the mountain. But it was too late for him to dodge. He was directly hit by the startled wild boar. Where did this beast come from? The force of impact was tremendous, instantly sending the wooden demon flying and falling from the mountain wall. However, this wooden demon was indeed more sophisticated than the other wooden soldiers. Its arm stretched forward and separated from its body. It turned out that there was a steel cable connecting the arm to the body. With the spring mechanism activated, the arm shot out. Wait for me. I will definitely kill you, you beast. The arm accurately grabbed onto the mountain wall, stopping the wooden demon's descent, and then it slowly climbed back up. While the wooden demon was being attacked by the wild boar controlled by Ahu, Liao Fengyi suddenly noticed that the other wooden soldiers were no longer moving. It must be Ahu. He didn't know how the wooden demon was controlling the wooden soldiers, but with his distraction, those wooden figures had turned into motionless puppets. Old Dao, let's run. At this point, they couldn't afford to keep fighting. They focused on picking up their pace and desperately running towards the top of the cliff. This time, they couldn't afford to waste any time, fearing that the wooden soldiers would catch up with them again. Fortunately, before the wooden army could surround them once more, the two of them finally climbed up the cliff. You're lucky. And you even managed to kill many of my soldiers. By now, the wooden demon had climbed up the cliff and reattached its arm. But I have plenty of soldiers. How many of them can you kill? Following that, the wooden soldiers also surged up, standing densely behind the wooden demon. Go. Kill them. Clearly frustrated from the fall, the wooden demon let out a fierce roar and issued a new command. Soon, his subordinates formed 7 or 8 small teams, and they all charged towards Liao Fengyi and old Dao from different directions. It seems like we're going to be surrounded again. We'll fight to the death if we have to. As they watched the continuously approaching wooden soldiers, both of them became bloodshot-eyed. If you see an opportunity, you run. Old Dao, I have a plan. There's no need for both of us to die. Unable to escape the current situation, Liao Fengyi proposed a very risky plan. But it depends on Ahu's speed. Ahu immediately understood and ran towards the backside.